Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Folks, yesterday we reported a story from Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee, a story of an active shooter that we all find to be horrific. And these occurrences happen far too often in this nation. And when we reported on this, of course, there was a lot of questions, the whys, the hows. And never when an incident like this happens, is there immediate answers as to what occurred. More than 24 hours later, we have some of those answers. We have the shooter identified. You see that young man on the screen. His name is Solomon Henderson. He is confirmed a student at the school, or was a student at the school, age 17. And there was some disturbing writings online, a manifesto, if you will. It's available online. I'm not going to read it because I think right now that should be left to the purview of the police department. However, just know that it is disturbing. We're not going to read verbatim what he said, but also know that this young lady here, this beautiful young lady, Jocelyn Escalante, age 16, a soccer player, described as a very loving human being by her father. Just horrific, as we know that these active shooter incidents are just something that it's almost like it happens every couple of weeks in this country. And have we become numb to it? Going back to Colorado, the Columbine shooting, Harrison Klebold, those names that etched upon our consciousness. And it was thought that we had some of the answers back then, that these are two young men who were bullied. As this investigation proceeds into the background of this man, Solomon Henderson, age 17, what angered him so much? What made him bring a gun to school and to take the life of a 16-year-old girl and then take his own life and wound another person? These are the questions that we have. These are the questions that we want to know, all kinds of answers to our questions, and we don't always have the answers, because what was in the mind of this disturbed young man? What was in his mind that he brought a gun to school and he wrote a manifesto about the why he was going to shoot other students at his school? What angered him so that he performed this violent act, taking the life of a 16-year-old girl and his own life? These are some of the questions that we hope that the investigation will uncover. These are some of the questions we all have. Were there signs of this prior to this horrific shooting? Those are the things we always want to know. And will we know these answers after the police have conducted their full investigation? Some of the questions we'll have answered, others will never know. So folks, hold on to your seats, hold on to your hats. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
Folks, this is how local TV station Nashville Channel 5 reported on the potential writings in his manifesto that led to this shooting.
He's later identifying the shooter as Solomon Henderson, a student at Antioch High School. News Channel 5 investigative reporter Jennifer Krause has been working to learn more about him. Jennifer, what'd you find out?
Well, Rory, we have a copy of what purports to be a manifesto that was posted on social media on an account that appears to belong to Henderson. This was posted shortly before the shootings, along with several photos which match the crime scene photos that we have seen. What is in here is extremely disturbing and chilling. It's horrifying. As you can see, it's thick. It's 51 pages long, filled with text as well as pictures. It starts with the title, "The West has fallen, billions must die." He says, "This book is dedicated to killing everyone I hate. Death to all unworthy men, traitors, and infiltrators." It appears that he was radicalized. He is heavily anti-Semitic in here, says death to Israel, blames Jews for so many things, that they are, quote, poisoning our culture and rap, that violence against Jews should happen, retaliation and retribution for what they have stolen is legitimate and a good thing, he writes. There are many other racial and ethnic slurs in here. The N-word is used extensively throughout. But he says, "I am ashamed to be black." He posts a flyer from the neo-Nazi hate group Goyim Defense League. That group, you may remember, was here in Nashville last summer holding demonstrations. Then he posts a series of questions and answers, such as, would killing random high schoolers save the white race or something? And he answers, yes, if they were people of color. He writes, are you a victim of bullying? He says, I can't remember a single instance of being bullied personally, but says the media and attention seekers will say that I was, and other BS, like he was just a quiet kid. He writes, why did you attack a school? He doesn't specifically answer that one, but then goes on to describe the various people who should be targeted. A long list of people, from presidents to journalists and children. Among the people who he says radicalized him, he cites Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, a hard-right anti-Semitic pundit who you may remember was here in Nashville again for those neo-Nazi attacks.
You know, let's just say that this is disturbing, right? This is absolutely disturbing. And what made him flip this way? Radicalized? Hatred? How did he become full of all this hatred? A 17-year-old kid that should have had everything to live for. 17. What developed? And, you know, the news is, this is sort of, you know, the police department chose, I guess, not to put out this manifesto, even though it was published online and it was available to many people to read. But we as onlookers, we citizens, we the public, we parents, we question how many ticking time bombs like this are there across this nation that can just get a firearm and go to their school and take other people's lives and then take his own life. What radicalized him? What made him hate so much that he took the life of this beautiful girl? Jocelyn Escalante, age 16. What did they know in this school? There we see the Antioch High School, an aerial photo of it. Everyone, all the pundits, all the security experts are going to be questioning, were there metal detectors in the school? Was there video? Did anyone know that he had been radicalized or was angry or owned a firearm? These are all questions that get asked, unfortunately, after the fact, after things like this occur. I can't answer them, because if I could, I'd be a genius and I'd be able to predict the next active shooting case. But yet we have our police respond to these. Police have protocols. Police have plans of how to address an active shooter case. This happened and was over very, very quickly. Apparently there were 2 school safety officers right very close by the shooting that occurred inside the cafeteria here. So what must we do? What can we do? And of course, recognizing signs of this would be nice. I don't know if he showed any signs of this aberrant behavior. Let's listen to the chief from the local police department, Chief John Drake. This was from yesterday.
Thank you, Don, and thank you all for being here during this unfortunate time. What we know thus far is that we had a male student that was 17 years old that rode the bus this morning to Antioch High School. During the course of the morning, this individual made his way to the cafeteria where he then confronted a 16-year-old, as we identified as a female Hispanic student, fired, striking her. She is deceased. There is another male 17-year-old young man that was wounded with a graze wound, and he has been treated at Vanderbilt and released. The shooter was 17 years old. He entered into the cafeteria, firing multiple rounds in the cafeteria, striking her, and then before pulling the weapon on himself. From that point, at 11:11, we started receiving calls for service. Officers responded and found the male shooter deceased in the cafeteria. We've been working with our state and federal partners on the identification and notifications of all. From that point, our SWAT team began systematic searches throughout the entire school to make sure there weren't any more victims or shooters within the school. We did not find any more. Since that time, we have started a family assistance center where we've worked very closely with Metro Schools. The Family Safety Center is right behind us at the Ascension Medical Center. We are systematically releasing young students to that location to be connected back with their parents. We've done that systematically so we wouldn't overload the parents or the school system so that we could get everyone back connected. The investigation is still very much ongoing as to a motive. We're looking into that. There are some materials on the internet that we're looking at that's under the investigation on the initial stages, but we'll continue to follow up on that. We've had a great partnership with Metro Schools, great communication with the fire department, with TBI, FBI, and ATF. And we'll continue the investigation, which will go until the wee hours of the morning. Please look at our platforms for further information. At this time, I will turn this over to Mayor O'Connell.
This chief did a fantastic job. He answered almost every question. And the thing that is so necessary in these instances is letting the public know what occurred from a professional standpoint, what you know, and let them know also that the investigation is preliminary and subject to change. That is one of the most important things you can let the public know, because there's hundreds, thousands of parents out there wondering, was my child shot? How many people was shot? And I think that was answered very early on in the case. And so it allayed the fears of many people that would be responding. They also had a staging area where parents could go pick up their students and their children at the school. So important, or else you can have panic. And then, of course, I went away from the mayor because all you would hear is politics, and I don't want to hear that. What we want to hear here is answers. And this, of course, happened more than 24 hours ago. So we know a lot more than we knew yesterday at this time.
Tragedy in Tennessee today. The victim of the Antioch school shooting just identified here tonight as 16-year-old Jocelyn Escalante. Her family saying they are just devastated, but also here calling for more school security on that campus. They describe her as kind and loving. Police also today just identifying the alleged shooter in this case as 17-year-old Solomon Henderson. Now, officials say he arrived at that school by bus, went into a school bathroom, came out with a pistol, then started firing around the cafeteria. He then later turned the gun on himself.
When I heard her running and I heard the anxiety and the anxiousness in her voice, that is something I can't get out of my head.
Police now say they are looking into this possible manifesto shared on a social media account that appears to be connected to that suspect.
So, of course, very, very disturbing. And you could put yourself in the shoes of that parent that was just on the screen that, got all emotional, rightfully so, about what had occurred here. And again, we're all going to be hearing from all the security experts, all the pundits, how did he get the gun into the school? Why aren't there metal detectors? We're going to hear all kinds of questions about that. To me, I think one of the most important questions to ask is, did Solomon Henderson show any signs of this? Were there any indicators in his behavior? People, the news said, oh, he was radicalized. What does that actually mean? He did show a great deal of hatred. And how did that happen? How did this 17-year-old boy become, use the word the press used, radicalized? How did he become so hateful? What made him so hateful? That is some of the questions I would like to ask.
Last 10 minutes since we drove over here, I haven't heard nothing from her.
A shooter walks into the Antioch High School cafeteria and opens fire.
A student and the shooter dead, others hurt.
I'm anxious, sad, angry all at the same time.
Team coverage as Fox 17 News at 5:30 starts now. We begin tonight with breaking news as gunshots ring out in the cafeteria at Antioch High School. One student is killed, a second injured before Metro Police say the shooter took his own life.
We have team coverage tonight as an entire community is in shock. People gathering at Antioch High School, a reunification center, and Vanderbilt Medical Center all day.
And we begin our coverage with Fox 17 News' Madeline Nolan at Antioch High School with what happened.
Yeah, good evening. We do know we here are at Antioch High School, who does remain closed for the rest of the week following this shooting. Now, of course, as those investigations are also underway into why this happened.
He was a monster, just killing people.
Absolute heartbreak at Antioch High School. Metro Police say that 17-year-old Solomon Henderson arrived with a plan.
This individual arrived at school on a bus and was actively a student in the school, went into the restroom, I guess, to retrieve his weapon, and then went into the cafeteria.
According to police, Henderson fired several shots from a pistol, and those bullets hit two students. 16-year-old Jocelyn Correa Escalante died in the gunfire.
Firing multiple rounds in the cafeteria, striking her, and then before pulling the weapon on himself.
First responders rushing into the school, helping the wounded, and the SWAT team making sure that there were no other shooters. Two other students were also taken to the hospital.
We did do 4 transports, all of them going to Vanderbilt. Then other assessments were done, of course, with student and staff when it was needed.
The impact going beyond those inside the cafeteria when the gunfire erupted. The violence impacting an entire community.
The level of first response.
So, folks, we've seen this story before. Just the location was changed, right? Yesterday was Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee. Where will it be weeks from now? Because you know what's going to happen again. It happens far too often. So we have the same conversations all the time. What do we need to do to mitigate these active shooter incidents, these incidences of hatred? How do we mitigate this? That's some of the questions we should be asking. The old adage we say all the time on this show from 9/11, if you see something, say something. Did anyone see this young man? and his anger, or hear this young man, or could see that he was in crisis, that may have been able to report this to authorities, that he was acting in a strange way? Is this just hatred, or is it mental illness? We have so many questions. And we know there was a manifesto. We played a little bit of the take of a news station on it, but the police department has chosen not to publish it at this point. But it's out there on social media. So these are some of the disturbing facts. Anyway, folks, this was my update today on this disturbing active shooter case. And we know that one young lady by the name of Jocelyn Escalante, who you see on the screen, age 16, lost her life. And the shooter you see on the screen, Solomon Henderson, took his own life. A third student, unidentified, has been wounded. Folks, that's our update for today. Very sad day when these things happen. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.